Has continued to fall and a record number of people are in work. Well, let's get reaction to this. We'll go live to Westminster and the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, Rachel Reeves. And Rachel, this looks like good news for the Conservatives and the Lib Dems.
Well, good morning. Of course it's welcome that unemployment has fallen and that employment is rising, but David Cameron can't get away from the fact that since he became Prime Minister, the average person in work is £1,600 worse off than before he was Prime Minister. And that's why he doesn't want to debate head-to-head with Ed Miliband, because he knows that he's let down hard-working people across the UK.
But people are in jobs, people are getting jobs. How can that be bad news?
Well, of course it's welcome that unemployment has fallen and employment has risen, but we know that many of those jobs are low-paid jobs and many of those jobs are insecure jobs. So since David Cameron became Prime Minister, the number of people not being paid a living wage has increased by 1.5 million. And we also know that there are 1.8 million jobs in the economy that are just on zero-hour contracts. And Ian Duncan-Smith said on your programme earlier today that zero-hour contracts should be renamed flexible contracts because they give employees greater flexibility, and he went as far as to say people prefer those jobs than regular jobs. And I would just say, how out of touch can you get? Even the Prime Minister says that he wouldn't be able to get by on a zero-hour contract, and yet today Ian Duncan-Smith is suggesting that these are better jobs than other jobs in the economy. But the reality is, if you don't know from day to day or week to week how much you're going to be earning, it's incredibly difficult to be able to pay the rent, pay the bills and put food on the table. So we need to be more ambitious for our country, with more jobs paying a wage people can afford to live on, and more jobs offering that security that most of us take for granted when we have a job.
I just want to get your reaction to last night's Challengers debate, as it's called. Ed Miliband did call out David Cameron and want this face-to-face, head-to-head debate just between the two of them. Doesn't look like the Prime Minister's going to go for that.
Well, I think that's really disappointing. You know, if you go for a job, you should at least turn up to the interview, but David Cameron doesn't even have the courtesy to do that. If he wants to be Prime Minister again, he should debate head-to-head with Ed Miliband, who's the alternative Prime Minister, at this election. And Ed gave another opportunity to David Cameron last night to debate head-to-head before the election on May 7th. There's still time to do that, but I think that David Cameron will duck out of that debate because he knows whether it's on the NHS, whether it's on the cost of living, or whether it's on the opportunities available to the next generation, he's let down people across the country and he doesn't want to have to defend his record.
But the Prime Minister would argue that when Parliament is in session, the two men face each other every week at Prime Minister's questions. So they do get the chance to debate weekly.
What you don't have at Prime Minister's questions, of course, is the opportunity for the public to ask questions from both of the two people who want to be Prime Minister in 3 weeks' time. We had those debates in 2010. They were watched by millions of people. They were incredibly important when people made up their minds about how to vote. David Cameron has denied people the opportunity this time to question him and Ed Miliband head-to-head in a debate. I think that's really disappointing. People would expect to see the Prime Minister go head-to-head with the leader of the opposition. Only one of those two men can walk through number 10 Downing Street in 3 weeks' time. People rightly expect, to see them perform against each other and take questions from the public. It's a real shame that David Cameron has chickened out of that.
OK, Rachel Reeves, Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.